Good afternoon, welcome here to Wiscombe Park in Honiton in Devon, and this is the National Hillclimb Championship round where we have all the best of the hillclimb world here with us today with their cars. It's promoted by Woolbridge Motor Club, and we're going to have a walk around the paddock, see if we can find a few people to chat to. So let's go and have a look. I think we go over here, this direction first, and see who there is. And I think the first person we can see is Steve Owen. Steve is the designer and constructor of the OMS racing cars. There's quite a few of these here today. So let's see if we can disturb Steve. Steve, got a few minutes? Yes. So you're the designer and constructor of the OMS racing cars. Tell us a little bit about how that came about.
How it came about? Well, I met Alan Staniforth. And Alan Staniforth was a massive inspiration who made the Terrapin cars, and so I got a Terrapin, started hill climbing. I was more into motorcycles, so I built a motorcycle engine car which became an OMS, and it went from there really.
So this one you've got behind you, I will tell you, this is going out live. Yep. Okay. This one that you've got behind you, this is one of your latest creations. Tell us a little bit about this.
So it's an OMS 28. It's got the Cosworth XD engine in it, the V8. It's very new, we've only used it 3 times. It's got the Sadev gearbox in it, which is the French gearbox. And it's got most of the current parts on it really. It's the same chassis as the motorcycle engine 28, but it's a different layup, it's a stiffer tub, it's more heavy duty for the power and the weight of the car. And we're just developing it really, and we're just getting used to it. We're having a few teething problems, and we're finding things out from every run, but hopefully we'll get there. Yeah.
Obviously, yesterday you had a bit of an awkward moment on a run, and you ended up with a little bit of suspension damage on the front, but all repaired and ready to go again?
Yeah, I mean, we carry everything with us, so apart from my pride, everything else is fixed. Yes, it's just my fault. I just went off. I just hit the bank and went off. So
a little bit of driver over-exuberance, shall we say?
No, I just wasn't watching what I was doing. I'm no expert here. I've only been here once before, and should have known better, really.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. We're going to have a look, wander up through the paddock, see who there is, and enjoy the rest of your day. So, walking up through the paddock now, we have several other OMS cars. The next one we come to here is Trevor Willis's car, and Trevor's car is a previous Hillclimb Championship winning car. At one point it set the fastest times here at Wiscombe. It was a hill record holder. So Trevor obviously not anywhere to be seen at the moment, but I can see another man that's also very interesting. Not a driver, he's disappeared, but the Hillclimb Championship coordinator. We'll catch up in a minute. So moving on, there's a gentleman up here who has been setting the world alight for the last couple of years, and that's Mr. Alex Summers. Alex, we're doing a live stream, so yes. Just remember, behave, yeah. No, Alex is very good. He's a very, very good engineer, excellent driver, and obviously a little bit damp conditions here today, but how's the day going? You enjoying yourself?
Yeah, we've got 2 cars we're running today. I've got Dave Warburton, number 9, driving my project car, the P40, and then I'm in the Firestorm. So plenty to think about. But now that it's full wet, now that it's properly rained and there's water on the track, it's a much more kind of predictable day. So I'm much happier than we were yesterday when it was, is it going to rain, is it going to be dry? So yeah, it's going so far so good really. Dave's 44, we're 39, so we're sort of in the conversation.
So yesterday up until the final runs, you were the actual outright hill record. I'm trying to rub this in. The hill record holder, and Wallace took that away from you by the smallest margin possible, didn't he?
Yes, I told him how many hundredths he'd beaten it by with a hand signal, which I won't repeat, but I'm sure you can imagine. But no, that's the game, isn't it? That's why we do it. And I nicked it from someone else, I think Will Hall, possibly. So you know, it's good to see he's the yardstick at the moment and has been for a number of years. So I was surprised to have the record when I got it. So it's good, and it shows that sort of we're on the Avon tyre now. We're about where we were on the Pirelli, which is great for Avon and great for the sort of dialogue between the two brands. So good for him, and he drove beautifully, and he has been all season. So I was not really surprised. And if it had to go to anyone, then there's no nicer bloke to have it, as far as I'm concerned.
It's a very gentlemanly sport, this. Now, this is the car you're actually driving today. This is a DJ
Yes.
Firestorm.
Yep.
And this is a V8 engine one. Tell us a little bit about the car for anybody at home who's not actually ever been to a hill climb. They'd look at this and think, oh, it's a Formula 1 car, which a lot of the concept is very similar, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious thing is it is a single-seater, massive amount of aerodynamic performance from the floor and the front and rear wings. We've got a carbon monocoque. This is actually specifically designed for hill climbing by that chap there in the hood, holding the tyre gauge. So this is a DJ Firestorm, designed and built by two best friends from college, Andy and Del. This one has a 1998 IndyCar V8, which, depending on which pub you're in and how many beers you've had, produces somewhere between 650 and 700 horsepower. So it's 455 kilos thereabouts without me sat in it, considerably more with me sat in it. So, whatever, 1,300 horsepower per tonne without the driver in. So it's nippy. And I think, broadly speaking, all the cars in this class, the unlimited class, will be somewhere in that ballpark. Perhaps the Gold's a bit lighter, but they're different conceptually, but they look a bit like Formula 1 cars. The big difference to a Formula 1 car is this has a 5-litre fuel tank, which is it's just about enough to get me from there to there, but with not much to spare. And it runs on methanol, which is an alcohol group. So, IndyCar, Americans always use methanol for some reason. It's not turbocharged anymore, so it's naturally aspirated, which is why it sounds so lovely. And it's revs to about 15,000 RPM, so it's a proper bit of kit.
Moving on now to this beauty. This is a car that you've actually designed, and the concept's come from you, hasn't it? How it should be, and with the aid of other people and family, you've basically built this as a trial to see if you could improve on what is already out there, and to test yourself a little bit, I would have guessed.
Yes, definitely. The principle of it was sort of an itch I always wanted to scratch. I fell in love with, I think it was about like 10 or 11 years old when I saw the GWR Predator, a grey and white junior car, and I thought I want something that looks a bit like that, but I also want to be able to kind of do it myself and figure out how that works. The other big motivator was to get my mother and wife comfortable in a car. So there's a huge amount of ergonomy that's gone into the seating position and pedal ratios and things. Like my mum's 5'1", and my wife's 5'5", and a lot of these cars are built around 6.5 foot drivers. I struggle to a certain degree because I'm only 5'6", but that's been a huge part of the exercise, is to do something for us, do something a bit different. Scratch a sort of passion itch, as it were, but also to actually have a real benefit to the girls in the family, in terms of the ergonomy and ability to use the controls. Just one example is my mother can't get full throttle in this car without lifting her heel off the ground, off the bottom of the tub, which is kind of challenging. So there's lots of little things that we've done. So it's definitely a family orientated project, and the girls and my dad have all been involved in the build in some way as well. So yeah,
that's lovely. And are we going to see you out in this before the season's out, or maybe next year? Because I know you're doing quite well in the Firestorm, but as you get towards the end of the season, you're going to think, I'll go and find an event and do it. It doesn't necessarily have to be a national championship round, or is this in the back of your mind and you're letting on at the moment?
Well, I have done two Lowtons, one Midland and one B meeting. So I've already done it, but the real reason for not driving it is that I don't want to create another Firestorm in terms of the way it functions. Mm-hmm. So if you're building the car for Mum and Debbie to be comfortable, if I get in it and go, it's got to be like this, it's not. It's just another. It's just another compromise that So to have something, so that my mum and Debbie will share this car next weekend at Lowton Park, and I'll be there to make sure it's comfortable for them, not for me, if that makes sense. But yeah, I might try and do a sprint or something at the end of the year. possibly. Watch
Well,
this space.
whatever you do, enjoy the rest of the year, enjoy the rest of your weekend here. Thank you for your time. It's always great to have a chat with you. You're always very giving. It was great to see you, I have to say, at Goodwood in the McMurray. One of the few people that's had the opportunity to drive that superb piece of engineering. And do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Absolutely, if you've got time. Goodwood is obviously probably it is the biggest car festival in the world, and I was very fortunate for the last 3 years to drive the McMurray Spieling, which is an electric fan car that has the record there by my esteemed colleague Mr. Max Chilton. But I've been there as a sort of supporting act in a sense, and maybe behind the scenes doing some of the test work. We've got a pretty full development plan for the car, so some of the test driving is glamorous, like Goodwood. Some of it's not so glamorous, but it's all fun, and it's electric's a big thing. Obviously, fan assisted downforce is going to be a big thing. I think you're going to see a lot more of that for various reasons. But the principle of the fan, I mean, maybe if that car's 500 horsepower, maybe 200 or 300 horsepower at any one time is being wasted by pulling air over the wings and so on. The fan system creates that downforce with almost no energy penalty. So it's actually about increasing range and having the same performance but to 30% more range. So when you create that vacuum with a fan, even though the fan has a power, when the vacuum is functioning, the fan power is very low. And it's significantly lower energy draw than having a big wing, certainly to make 2 tons of downforce, So it's properly cool, it's properly exciting, it's properly groundbreaking, and the record at Goodwood is just the beginning, and I hope that I get to be a part of that conversation for many years to come. Just a massive privilege, and hopefully we get more of our guys and girls to Goodwood in the future in some of these, but it's still work in progress, I think.
Well, thank you anyway, as I said, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. We're going to have a wander on now, see if we can find Wallace or somebody like that, and thank you very much. Thank you very much. So that was Alex Summers. His mum is actually sat in his car at the moment. So, her car. She's telling me now. She's saying it's my car. So we won't disturb Lindsay. She's busy working on something there. So we'll have a walk up through the paddock and see who else there is to chat to. And as we go up, we got, as I say, Alex's car there that he's developed himself. We'll get a bit further up here. I think we'll head up towards the top and see if we can find the man with the number 1 on his car, Mr. Wallace Menzies. Wallace has got his tent up to keep everything dry. And as we pass, we got some lovely old Chevron there. Beautiful car. Sports racer design. Let's see where the gentleman is. Whoops. That'll be in the outtakes. Is Wallace available anywhere? Is he busy?
Sorry, you've got clothes on. You go and have a look.
Oh, we're going to have a look.
Makes a change.
So this is Wallace's lorry. It's obviously quite a large vehicle that he has everything in. And there's young Tom hanging through the window. We're doing a live stream. Is Wallace available for a chat?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, sure.
Is his lunch just going through the back?
You could have been getting out of the shower.
Yeah, no, we checked first. So this is Wallace Menzies. Wallace is the leading British Hillclimb champion at present, number 1 on his car, hopefully keeping it there for next year. Leading the championship this year as well, aren't you?
Yeah, for now. We're just over a third of the way there, 21 runs out of 30 done, so still a bit to go. And it's a long way from finished.
It may be a long way from finish, but yesterday you eclipsed the hill record, which yesterday morning, with the weather as it was, none of us thought would be a possibility. But you've done it at the tiniest of margins as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think the new tarmac helped it drying out, and obviously it being a bit warmer. So yeah, it wasn't a hundredth of a second or 200ths, I think. So it was sneaked Alex. Actually, felt a bit bad to Alex for that, but not much different than the times from last year. It's a bit of a shame today we couldn't all. I'm sure everybody would be chapping at the bit for it today if it stayed dry, but it still might dry up.
Yeah, it's obviously it's damp at the moment, but the clouds are high, so got to be helpful for that. So the car, basically the same car as last year.
It looks that way, yeah.
Basically, then that means is no, it's not under the skin.
We're always working hard away from the rounds. We do quite a lot of work that doesn't get seen, both in preparation and trying different things. So the car evolves from season to season. No big changes, but little bits and damper tweaks here and there and stuff.
All makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, and not all of it makes it good. So you've got to kind of kiss a few frogs to find out a better setting and keep pushing. And different places present different challenges for setup. So yeah.
So for Wiscombe, do you totally changed the car? Because last week was it Jersey and Guernsey, weren't you? Is it much of a change between the venues on the setup?
Yeah, Jersey's a really specific set of challenges. It's mega slippy because of the open road. Guernsey's a bit different. It's not too different here, but it's kind of almost a hill in 3 bits. Up from here up to gate, you would need one setup, and then from gate all the way to Sawbench first is very, very different and a good challenge. And then you also got heavy braking first gear to flatten third and into fourth, and then heavy braking in first gear again for Sawbench. So again, the car, you've got to set the car up as a compromise for all of that.
So how many gears do you actually use on Wiscombe?
We'll clip fourth just to settle the car down so we don't get too close to the limiter. Third, fourth and fifth are all really close as gears go, so we'll just clip fourth and then back down to first at the end of the straight.
So I was watching from Sawbench yesterday afternoon when you went up on your record-breaking run, and I noticed you're very tidy and you just keep a very measured distance away from the curbs right the way through. Some of them were running and just clipping the curbs, but you just do that little bit. I mean, is that something you consciously do, or do you just look for the best line?
I think sometimes with the 2 hairpins it's quite difficult to place the car if under heavy braking. I mean, we locked up really hard in practice there, but you're looking to use, because they're so tight and you're trying to get drive out of it, you're looking to use all the roads you possibly can, and you're going to be into traction with the back end coming out on exit, so it's kind of balancing that and throttle without rubbing the banks, because we've hit them a few times, and the stone here, it manages to puncture tyres really easily, and it's part of the challenge of the hill, so you only get away with touching the bank so many times, and we've probably used all our lives at that, so we'll see what this afternoon brings with it.
Yeah, it's a bit damp. It is, like I say, the clouds are high now, so it's drying out. Obviously, it's not going to be a totally dry run like we had yesterday at the end of the day, but hopefully you'll still stay up there and leading the championship when we go away from here this weekend.
Yeah, that we will be mathematically, but as I say, we've got another 8 rounds after this weekend to keep pushing on, and everybody's trying really hard, and all the boys are super fast.
One of the things I noticed amongst all the hill climbers, we were talking to Alex just now, and he said he couldn't have wished for a better person to take the hill record away from him. He said, Alex, he said Wallace is such a nice guy, and there is a lot of friendship, even though you're rivals, isn't there, amongst the paddock?
I think that there's huge friendships out the whole paddock, and we're not going into a corner at the same time as each other. And a lot of things like the Channel Islands brings everybody together. Alex only saying that because I had to buy him a pint for taking his record yesterday, so he got a pint of, I think it's Otters.
Otters are very nice ale. Did you try any?
No, I'm unfortunately a bit lagery, that's too much for me, but I did have a pint at the end of it with Alex, so no, it's a really close community and everybody gets on really, really well, so fantastic family sport.
Well, thank you for your time. We'll have a wander through and look at your car in a moment with the camera, and good luck this afternoon, and let's see if you can go out of here with maximum points again. You've already got 1 extra point for taking a hill record, so 11 points yesterday, and another 10 today won't do any harm, will it?
Listen, just doing the best we can. I think it could be a lottery, but we'll just do the best we can and have fun. The big thing's about for us to have fun when we come away. It's a long way to come. Everybody down here is super nice, really like coming here. Cracking hill, invested back into it with a brand new surface. Huge amount of investment, so it is much appreciated by the competitors, and we enjoy coming. So I don't think we'll see any more points, but if we go home with having done the best we can, then we'll be happy.
And there's only one other thing that you keep forgetting every year, and I do ask you.
Strawberry tarts. They got taken off me at customs.
Wallace always promises to bring me a strawberry tarts down, and it never happens. One day it will. So we're going to have a look at Wallace's car now. Thank you very much, Wallace.
Well, have a good day. Love to speak to you.
Okay. So let's have a wander through. So This is the Gold. This is Wallace's Gold, which he's campaigning this year, and it's got the V8 IndyCar engine in the back. But lovely shape, beautiful car. If nobody's ever seen it, if you're here at Wiscombe, watching the live stream in the bar or somewhere, wander up and have a look. And if not, if you're at home, just remember they'll be back next year. You can come and see them all again next year. But, beautiful car, well engineered, a very, very complex front wing with lots of aero going on there. And as you can see, they're on wet tyres, which is the groove tyres, because it has been a very wet day. If it dries out, they may go over to the slick tyres, because quite often the slick tyres, even on a damp surface, give more of a advantage than the racing wet tyres. So, right, so let's have a wander across to the other side of the paddock now. So, as we look down through the middle of the paddock, I say we've got this very fine chevron here, which is from the sort of like 1970s. Beautiful car, lots of chrome and aluminium when you get in close looking at it. Really, really aesthetically pleasing. So we're going to see if we can catch up with young Scott Moran. He was down here a short time ago. This is the car that Scott's driving this year. He's sharing it with Graham Wynne. Graham's actually there leaning on the car at the moment, so it looks like he's fueling it, so we won't get too close to that. And I can't see Scott in there. I can see his father, Roger Moran, but let's have a bit of a look at the car while Graham's refueling. Again, another Gould chassis, very, very popular in the hill climbing world. Ah, there's Scott. Scott, would you? This is a live stream going out, so
no swearing.
You got it. So Scott's former hill climb champion. How many times?
6. Yeah,
you had to think about that.
Ago. Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't think it was a long time ago. But you're out in the Gould here. You're sharing it with Graham there, who's just refueling it for you, obviously. Yeah. How's your day progressing so far? I know it's been a bit damp this morning and different conditions to yesterday.
So I'll be honest, it's much better today because it was properly wet this morning. So it's yesterday the first couple of runs were pretty mixed. So it was very slippery and they had lots of incidents, and the marshals they had a lot to deal with yesterday, so that was much appreciated. Thankfully I wasn't one of them. But yeah, this morning when it was properly wet, we could put the wets on, and the Avon wet is an excellent tyre, so it works really well in these conditions. And Wallace again was quickest, but I was second behind him, a little bit behind again. But yeah, it's all practice at the minute. So
yeah. So this morning obviously been practice. Anybody who's not been to a hill climb, they start with a practice run and then move on to the time runs later in the day. And the practice runs give them a feel for the actual surface, the conditions and what they can do, how far they can push the car. And then when they get to time runs, they can go into it much more confident. And then this afternoon, your time runs, you do a time run which counts towards what we call the top 12 runoff. Would you like to explain the top 12 runoff to anybody who's never been to a hill climb?
Yeah. So the top 12 runoff, that's anybody who's registered for the British Championship. Your class run is a qualifying run. And then the fastest 12 will go to the championship points, and then the top 10 will score points, so 10 for first. If you break a record, you get an extra point, which Wallace did yesterday, so we had 11. And then it goes down to 1 point for 10th. And then you've got, unfortunately, the last two, 11th and 12th, don't score anything. So, but yeah, so that's what we're all here, certainly us guys, that's what we're here for, is the big, the points for the British Championship. And then there's the British, the Hillclimb Cup. That's running, that's sort of alongside the British Championship. Well, that's a class-based championship. So again, they score points for each class run they do. So they're positioning class again. So I think that's 10 points again for a win, and down to I'm not sure where they score. I'll be honest, I should know this, but yeah, I'm not sure where they score down to. But yeah, it's it might be the top 6 or 8 in the class. So yeah.
So a little bit about the car. It's 4 litre, yes?
Yeah, this one's a Judd. So Wallace's is a ex-IndyCar engine. This is a Le Mans engine in this one, so it's a Judd 4 litre, normally aspirated. This one's running on normal pump fuel. This is unleaded, right? Whereas some of the other cars, like Wallace's, are running on methanol. But Judd prefers to use that, so that's what we're running at the minute. The tub is a Gould GR59, which is designed primarily for hill climbing. I think it was originally penned for the Formula E circuit racing, but that sort of never took the Gould side. That chassis was never taken into that, but it lends itself very well to hill climbing, because you can put there's bike engines with you can put a bike engine in there, or a V8, or pretty much anything. I think they can transfer the back end over to whatever you want in there. But the car, it's about 420 kilos and it's about 700 horsepower, so its power to weight is pretty phenomenal, really.
So you say it's a Judd in there. I mean, Judd spent time in Formula 1, didn't they? Is it an ex-Formula 1 engine or something that they used in a different formula? And if so, do you know the history of it?
No, this was a new engine. So it was. I think they primarily for the Le Mans series. So it's more of an endurance. It's nothing like what we're doing. But I think they're so kind of happy, sort of 5 years between rebuilds, because it's not doing anything like the mileage it's doing as a Le Mans engine.
So that engine gives you good longevity.
Yeah. Fingers crossed, touch wood, all that, Yeah, but so far it's been pretty bomb-proof. So it's very drivable.
Yeah.
So it's got a lot of torque at the bottom end. So these conditions, it should hopefully help us a little bit with getting out in the wet.
Well, thank you for that, and a bit of a view of your car. Enjoy your afternoon, and be very, very interesting to see the outcome at the end of the day. Who's done what onto it?
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll have another sticker on there for a win. But we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so strolling a bit further down the paddock, let's have a look, see what else we can find down this side. We have some local drivers now. The purple car there is Andy Short, who comes from Exeter, so one of our locals. He does quite well with that's at OMS, which we went and saw Steve, the designer of OMS, earlier. So I'm looking now at Darren Gunley. Now Darren was here yesterday, and he's talking to Stuart Webster. Now, Stuart is part of the British Hillclimb Championship. So would you like to tell us a little bit about the championship, how it comes about, how it works, and what the sort of like the parameters of the championship are?
Yeah, sure. So
this is a live stream, so everybody.
Hello, everybody in the world.
Yes.
The British Hillclimb Championship is the oldest British championship. So it started in 1947. First time it came to Wiscombe was in 1962. We are very proud of running that championship for that length of time. We go right across the country, so we go from in Scotland we do Doon, in Northern Ireland we do Crigantlet, we go to the Channel Islands with Bouley Bay and Val de Terre, and we do various places including the southwest here at Wiscombe, across England as well.
Yeah. So how many registered contenders do you have to do the championship?
So for the British Championship this year, we've got record numbers for both the Cup, which is the class-based championship, and the British Championship itself. We've got more than 60 for the British Championship, and we've got 150 plus for the Cup, so the class-based championship. So we're having a very good year, the highest numbers that we've had registered for the championship ever.
That's good. I mean, the sport is a healthy sport now, isn't it? And there's a lot of change or variance, I will say, between what you can use. I mean, you can look at people in a very small car, small capacity, up to these big racing cars, aren't we? Is there a spread within that championship with a proportion going one way to the other?
Probably the most popular class in the championship right now is the 1100cc racing car class. That's probably where you've got the biggest bang for your buck. You can pick up an engine out of a motorcycle. You can pop it in there relatively. If you want to be like Darren, you'll have to tune that engine, but you can do it untuned if you so wish and still go very, very fast. So the 1100cc class at times this year has had 24 entries, which is an awful lot for one class. That's definitely the one with the most growth in the recent past. But at the top end, we're very fortunate as well with 1600s like Darren's car, right the way through to the 2 litres, some of them turbocharged, some of them not. And then we've got the unlimited capacity cars as well, where we've got a really good spread of cars which cost you a little bit more than an 1100cc racer to run, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's horses for courses, as they say. Generally you see the bigger cars actually winning the events and setting the fastest times, but the smaller cars and people like Darren, who is a very seasoned competitor, often gets into the top 12 runoffs with his 1600cc car against the 400 or 4 litre 600 700 horsepower cars, and it does show that it's not so much all about it, the amount of horsepower you've got, it's the drivability and your ability, of course.
Absolutely. If you look at some of the cars like Darren's and Paul Hames's car, I mean, Paul Hames's car, if you've spoken to Paul already, his car is 325 kilos without the driver in it, and he's got a 480 horsepower 1300cc turbocharged bike engine in the back of it, so his bang for buck is pretty damn good. His horsepower per tonne is fantastic. Not quite as good as the Goulds with their 700 horsepower, but not far away again.
Because there's a lot of it, isn't it? It's horsepower per tonne is the thing, and it's moving that mass, isn't it, really?
Absolutely. And hill climbs is all about getting to top speed very quickly and getting down to a reasonable speed to take the corners very quickly. And if you look at some of the bigger cars as well, there's an awful lot of very clever aero on the bigger cars. If you look at the Goulds particularly, and the quality of the aero which is on those cars, for low speed, downforce is fantastic. Really good.
Well, thank you for that, Stuart, and great that you bring the championship here every year to Wiscombe, and Woolbridge Motor Club always appreciate it, and it's always a great draw for people to come and see. And we'll have a little chat with Darren now, shall we? Darren Gunley, 1600cc car against all the big boys. You got in the top 12 yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you always
outbraked myself going into Martini, and I took the slip road.
That's got to be a very fine line when to choose whether to go round the corner or up the escape road.
I just run out of talent. I wanted to gain some time around that last bend, and been struggling with the weather and just struggling this weekend, and trucking on up there, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to make it, so I just bailed out.
You just have to decide, don't you, that very last second.
I saw that slip road, I thought, I'm going there.
Yeah.
So instead of into the tyre wall.
Yeah, well, that's a better way of doing it, though, isn't it? Because it doesn't cost so much. You don't end up having to do rebuilds and things like that.
No, there's a lot of accidents yesterday. A lot of us got away with it. The same car as mine, the Coopers, had a good one. So they've had all my spares. Unfortunately, they never got back out. Someone else was damaged, which I never had. I just want to go home in one piece and Shelsley 2 weeks.
Enjoy the weekend, I think.
Enjoy. Just it's going to rain. Rains. We're all in it. We're all the same. And I've got the 1100 record, and we cannot get nowhere near it this weekend. So.
Now the conditions now, obviously, there's not much chance of actually sort of pulling it out of the bag and getting anything this afternoon, is there?
No, I mean, the weather is going to play into people's hands this afternoon, and it could be our end, it might not be,
Well, let's hope you get into the top 12 this afternoon, make the top, don't have any issues. I know we've spoke before on Saw Bench where I'm commentating, and you've had a problem as you've approached Saw Bench and come and end up standing there looking out with me, but get to the top, enjoy your afternoon, and I'd love to see you in the top 12 again.
Hopefully. Right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, I can see we're actually starting to get the cars lined up again now, so I think we'll say that's a bit of a tour around the paddock. Hopefully it's been informative and you've enjoyed it, and please remember to watch the live stream, and we will be back again here with the Nationals in a year's time. In the meantime, Speed on Screen will be beaming you other events throughout the year. Just watch their website.